Morning, everyone. We didn't get to talk about this one yesterday, and that is Johannes Hoff Thorup, announced as the new Norwich City manager. Local Norwich journalists had all gone pretty big on this at the start of the week, knowing that this was going to confirm, just dotting I's, crossing T's. They had all the media sorted out, ready for the announcement, which came yesterday afternoon. We'll address Thorup and how he'll fit in A, at Norwich, and B, in English football in the EFL. I think it's important to kind of set the context for where Norwich are as a club. And I say this as a compliment, so don't take it the wrong way, Norwich fans, but Norwich have been brilliant in the last decade. Nobody's done it better at positioning themselves on the right side of the cliff edges that we get, particularly between Premier League and Championship, and being able to leverage that and being a really powerful team in the Championship. It's not gone so well the last 2 years. Didn't work at all with Dean Smith. And then David Wagner obviously took that on. Bad start this season and clawing it back from November, wasn't he? And they came close, but well beaten in the playoffs by Leeds in the end. So the parachute payments are gone. And it feels eerily similar to 2018-19, where the parachute payments had run out then for Norwich. And they pivoted, I must say, extraordinarily brilliantly to Farker, Webber, Buendia, Pukki, Aarons, Lewis, and won the Championship title. Now, I'm sure Norwich fans would absolutely love that to be the case for Thorup next season, but it's not entirely the same situation, and the football world changes, doesn't it? And the Championship in 2019 is not the same place it is in 2024. So not really a fair standard to hold Thorup to. And also, I think Farker had already done a year and Webber a year and a half. But you take my point that you're going from established order, as in Dean Smith, promotion, winning manager, David Wagner, promotion, winning manager, and a parachute team recently relegated from the Premier League, to, okay, we're pivoting now. And it's Ben Napper, a young sporting director there. He's been in for 6 months or so. I think he came in halfway through the season, didn't he? And a new, young manager who is unknown to English football. So it feels more like Farker with Webber than maybe some of the other promotions there with Alex Neil and Farker latterly when Norwich had come down from the Premier League, if you take my comparison there. 35 years old. Now, that would really raise eyebrows 4 or 5 years ago. A manager that young, it's pretty normal in the Championship. In fact, the best hires last season, Marty Cifuentes to QPR and Danny Roll to Sheffield Wednesday, were very much in this model, weren't they? Sorry, model project, all these buzzwords about football. It's a manager going to a football club, head coach, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying. We all know what their job is to do, is to get the team as high in the table as possible. And Cifuentes and Roll were hugely successful in a different area of the table, I must say, but very much in the ilk of young European sort of career coach, which is what Thorup is through Denmark. Going to get comparisons to Brentford, aren't we? And if Norwich's pivot in 2018-19, that era was based on Germany, maybe this one will be based on Denmark. He's just got a huge background, Thorup, in Danish football and Danish youth football as well, and a big focus on young players there. So you've got a young manager, maybe an untapped market there, and someone who's good with working with young players. There's another thing you've got to say for Norwich in terms of Aarons, who we mentioned, Lewis, Campbell, Omid-Bamidele. I don't know the maths, but there can't be another Championship club who's generated more youth team players and sold them for more money than Norwich. I know selling them's not the be-all, end-all, but let's be honest, it kind of is in Championship football. You need to raise that money to compete with the teams coming down from the Premier League. Else, it's a bit of a, I could quote Stuart Webber here, it's a bit of a taking a knife to a gunfight, or whatever he said when they got promoted last time. So, I've used the word pivot, new era, new model, whatever you want to say. I I don't know why I do this to myself, because I watched the interview that Thorup did, and it's probably the worst thing you can do when a new manager's hired, because these guys are at the heart of their job, communicators, and you sit there and you just lap up everything they say, and it all makes perfect sense, and they present the vision, presumably, that they did in the job interview that's got them the job in the first place. And it's very easy to come away from 90% of new manager interviews and go, oh, okay, that all makes sense. He's going to do that, and that, and away we go. And obviously, it can't work at every club. Not everybody can win. I always say this when we're doing the championship predictions. You know, you've got 24 teams. 12 or more are definitely not going to win every week in the championship. So you take my point on that. He spoke really, really well. He said all the things you'd expect him to say about, you know, how he's going to utilise his experience from Denmark. And I think the big thing that you can take without a pinch of salt is the style of football will change, because Norwich were very much counter-attacky and pragmatic and knockout tournament-y, which is disappointing in the end for Norwich fans, because they didn't win a knockout tournament at the end with David Wagner. But sounds like they're going to go more process than pragmatism and try and be more possession-based, which they were under Daniel Farke. And I don't agree with everything that Chris Sutton says on the telly, but he said after that playoff game they should go back to that, and I do happen to agree. I think all the best Norwich teams I've seen in my lifetime have played good football. The one with Mike Walker and probably Nigel Worthington, and definitely the Daniel Farke one recently. Yes, they had good players and always managed to, as I say, position themselves as a big fish in the Championship pond. Maybe they've been a small fish in Premier League terms. But so how is he going to do? It's so hard to say on this one, isn't it? So much is going to depend on Norwich's actual strength in terms of recruitment. And I know the Norwich fans have their issues with Delia Smith and the ownership, and whether that's been holding them back, or maybe the conversation needs to be how much that's been holding them back over recent years, and whether they've done well in spite of that rather than because of that. And it's what sort of a playing squad is Thorup going to have? It's all very well saying someone's good with youth players, promote youth players, and they've got Johnny Rowe and the lad who did well on loan at Pompey, whose name is Kamara. His name is not escaping me at the moment. It's early in the morning, guys. But what Norwich have had in all of those eras, and we talk about Farke, yes, they were tactically good. Yes, they pivoted. Yes, they managed to tap an untapped market in Germany. They had blooming good players, particularly, I mean, Buendia was an absolute star, wasn't he? So was Pookie, and young players coming in around them as well. Tim Krul, you know, some experienced players there. What you have at the moment at Norwich is a bit of an ageing team with the likes of, they had Gibson and Hanley sort of at the back. McLean's been there a long time, hasn't he? Ashley Barnes. And the idea was they could become younger and could become more dynamic. Got some brilliant players, Norwich. And I'm talking about Sainz, Sarah, Nunes, Sargent and Rowe. Some really good players. They're just not going to hold on to all of those players. It's just not the way economically the Championship works, when you go from having parachute money to not, and three other teams come in and they've got it. It's, you know, you have to sell to compete. So I'm not saying all of those players are going to go, but surely one or two of them are going to go. And what can they do for Thorup? If they can keep three of those five players I listed, then surely you're only looking at the likes of the teams that have come down this season, which is going to be Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United. Obviously, Leeds are still here and are going to be a massive threat. But look, Leicester and Southampton are gone, so that will help teams like Norwich. I think Middlesbrough and Coventry come strong after playoff defeat 2 seasons ago. They've kind of reset. But Norwich should be in the mix if they don't have a disastrous recruitment drive. And from what I can hear from the early interview, I know I'm saying don't judge it on that. This looks like it could work well, but I think recruitment is going to be key, particularly in this first year. There you go. The managerial merry-go-round keeps spinning. We've still got stuff to do Burnley, Hull, Sunderland. We're expecting Chelsea and Brighton to go soon as well. But get your comments in on Norwich and a new model, a pivot. Sorry, I'm throwing the horrible buzzwords in again. 2, Johannes Hoff Thorup. How's he going to do? Get in the comments. A new manager at Norwich.